What is going on, YouTube friends? Welcome to the channel. My name is Fareed and I want to welcome you guys to another episode of the Cardano Scoop. Now in today's video, I'm going to be giving you guys some general Cardano updates, which include updates surrounding Project Catalyst, some new exchange listings, as well as an upcoming Cardano community event, which is the Cardano Summit. Following that, we're going to talk a little bit about Indigo and their liquidity bootstrapping event process, as well as their recent launch on the Cardano Testnet. Now, after we're done talking about Indigo, we're going to jump into some updates about GeniusX and their NFTs, their recent ISPO, their Launchpad testnet, and some newly onboarded projects. After that, we're going to talk about WingRiders and their monthly update. Now, if it's your first time visiting the channel, I aim to provide you guys in the Cardano community with the latest news, tutorials, and reviews when it comes to the top projects within the Cardano ecosystem. And so if these type of updates interest you, make sure to tap that like button. If it's your first time visiting the channel, consider subscribing. And if you have any questions or comments about any of the content covered as a part of today's video, then make sure to leave a comment down below. Without taking up any more time, we're going to jump into our very first topic, which are going to be general Cardano updates. So let me share my screen here with you guys. And the first item I'm going to be highlighting are going to be some sweeping changes coming to Cardano's Project Catalyst. Now, if you're not familiar with Project Catalyst, this is going to be a Cardano specific initiative that's going to allow for brand new startups the ability to write out proposals and the community to vote on those proposals in exchange for ADA coming directly from the Cardano treasury. Now, in this article, they're going to be talking about two sweeping changes that we can expect coming to Project Catalyst, with the first being a brand new voting center Dapp. Now, before we get into that, I do want to start off with this paragraph at the very top. Since its launch 2 years ago, Catalyst has funded over 1,100 projects that share the same goal, and that is to develop the Cardano ecosystem and add value to the blockchain. Now, Cardano holders can vote on proposals several times a year in Catalyst funding rounds known as funds, with the most recent being fund number 9, awarding 200 plus grants at a total cost of $13 million USD. And so again, we're seeing a lot of brand new projects take advantage of this opportunity, with a lot of grants being granted in this last round, and with many more coming in the future rounds. Now, scrolling down to the actual changes, which again are going to be the voting Dapp. The new voting center will eventually replace IdeaScale, which is the current portal used for proposals. Now, the voting center will become the focal point of the Catalyst experience, and initially the voting center will be used for key voting registration, the voting itself, and voting rights delegation. Now, if you guys want to read a little bit more about all of this information, I will leave the link to this article down in the description below. Now, the goal of this voting center Dapp is to make the participation in Catalyst easier. And it also says here, imagine one-click voting registration without QR codes, pins, or mobile apps. Again, I think this is an awesome initiative to see coming through, and it'll be interesting to see if this is actually getting funded as a part of Catalyst itself. Now, users will be able to connect to the voting center with any wallet that has a Cardano Dapp connector, though the wallets themselves will need to implement 2 new calls in order for the voting center to be compliant. One for registration and one for voting. Not all wallets will be compatible at first, though the NuFi wallet, which is a wallet collaborating with the Cardano and Solana blockchains, has been confirmed that it will be compatible from day 1. So if you guys do not already have access to the NuFi wallet, this could be an opportunity to get that, because it does look like they will be supporting this brand new voting Dapp for Catalyst early on. Now, if I scroll down here, there are going to be some additional changes in regards to delegations and delegate representatives. And so this is going to be beneficial for anyone who does not want to actually cast their own vote, but who wants to have somebody else with a little bit more knowledge do that on their behalf. And so starting in funding round number 10, vote delegation will be introduced alongside delegate representatives, or DREPs. Now, the mechanism is going to be similar to staking, in which you lend your ADA's voting power to a trusted D-rep, who can then cast votes on your behalf. The rewards for voting will be collected by delegators themselves, and voting power can be distributed to several D-reps at once, so a delegator doesn't have to rely on a single representative. As the article continues to read, this is a very sought after feature, which if done right can greatly improve the Catalyst decision-making process. D-reps will be more qualified and experienced and can spend more time assessing projects than the average Catalyst voter. Through this, we can expect funded projects to be of a higher quality. And so that kind of backs up what I just said there. Again, it's going to give brand new members in Cardano the ability to still apply their voting power, but it's going to delegate the actual votes or the voting rights to a representative within the community. So that's going to wrap it up there when it comes to updates for Project Catalyst and what we can expect to see coming down the pipeline in funding round number 10. Next, I want to talk about a new partner that's partnered up with the Cardano Foundation, and it's actually going to be an exchange. And so over the last week or two, we've seen a lot of turmoil, especially with FTX and some of the mishandlings that they've done in regards to their exchange. However, we do have some positive news here for the Cardano community. So recently, the Cardano Foundation partnered with WhiteBIT, which is going to be an exchange, in order to list ADA perpetual futures, and they also announced that they're going to be attending Cardano Summit. So as the small and quick article reads here, major European exchange WhiteBIT has announced a new partnership with the Cardano Foundation, and WhiteBIT users can now trade ADA perpetual futures, which is the first step of the cooperation. In addition to that, the WhiteBIT exchange will also be taking part in the Cardano Summit. Now, if you don't know what the Cardano Summit is, this is going to be an annual meeting for the Cardano community in which the top projects are recognized. But then in addition to that, there's also going to be awards for the top contributors within the actual space. So we can expect to hear from members like Charles Hoskinson. We're also going to have heads of organizations such as IOG and the Cardano Foundation in attendance. And so that's actually going to take me into the third item that I want to highlight for today's video. And so let me share my screen again with you guys. And that's going to be the upcoming Cardano Summit. So it will be taking place from November 19th through the 21st of 2022 in Lausanne, Switzerland. And I do have a fully dedicated video covering this community event, which I'll leave a link to down in the description below. Now, in regards to the actual speakers themselves, as you guys can see here, we can expect members such as Charles Hoskinson, who's going to be the CEO and co-founder of Input Output Global, or IOG. In addition to that, we have Frederick Gregard, I hope I'm pronouncing that right, who's going to be the CEO of the Cardano Foundation. We have Tyler Wales from Emergo, and plenty more. Now, we do also have heads of projects here, so let me scroll down and see if I can find some. But I know that we're going to be expecting a few members. We have some influencers here, such as Linda and Big Pay. We have Navjeet from Iagon. And then let me actually see here. We have Rob Gregg as well from Cornucopias, as well as Josh Jones. And again, just so many more. So I will not be able to attend this particular event in person because it is going to be in Switzerland. However, I do want to highlight that there will be virtual community-led events taking place in 50 cities across the world. So if you guys are not able to attend in person, that's totally okay. But I do recommend checking out to see whether or not there's going to be a community event in your particular area. Now, even if you're not able to attend a community-driven event, I do also want to highlight that you can attend virtually through the Summit Lodge. And so there's going to be a virtual experience for anybody who's not able to attend in person or through a community-led event, which will also give them an immersive experience into the Cardano Summit. So again, I'm going to be leaving links to all that information down below. Hopefully you guys do attend and you guys are able to stay updated over the next week. All right, that's going to wrap it up for general Cardano updates. We're continuing to see development going on across the ecosystem, even during these turbulent times. Now, what I want to highlight next is going to be Indigo and their recent launch on the testnet of Cardano, and then their ongoing liquidity bootstrapping event, which is taking place on MinSwap. Now, if you've never heard of Indigo before, they're going to be an autonomous synthetics protocol for on-chain price exposure to real-world assets built on Cardano. Now, Indigo is going to allow for anyone to create synthetic assets, also known as I-assets, on their platform. And these I-assets can be created using currencies such as stablecoins and ADA. In addition to that, these I-assets will have the same price effect as holding the asset that they're replicating. And so simply put, it's going to be a way to get exposure to certain assets that may not natively be on Cardano. One last thing to note about I-assets is that they do not have to only track cryptocurrencies, but they can also be used to track things such as traditional stocks and commodities. So what I want to share with you guys here is going to be their liquidity bootstrapping event, which was actually announced on November 14th, and it's going to be lasting all the way until November 21st. Now, if you're not familiar with what a liquidity bootstrapping event is, it's going to basically be a way for the community to participate in the launch of the Indigo token at a fair price. And so here we have an article from MinSwap Labs, which I'm going to be quickly breaking down, and then we're going to jump over into the MinSwap Dex to actually take a look at what the event looks like and how you can participate. And so as it reads here, today we are thrilled to announce that our next MinSwap launch bull will be the Indigo Liquidity Bootstrapping Event, or LBE for short, starting on November 14th. Indigo will be the first protocol on Cardano to offer synthetic assets. The first I-assets will be IBTC and IUSD, which will be the first native stablecoin on Cardano. Now, Indigo has already committed to a fair launch with no pre-mine, pre-sale, or distribution of the Indy token, which is going to be the Indigo DAO's utility token prior to the launch of the actual Dapp. And so again, there's no one else that's going to have access to the Indigo token, and it's all going to be given out to the community as a part of the LBE. Now, if you're wondering how many tokens are actually going to be distributed, it continues to read here, 350,000, Indy tokens, or about 1% of the total supply of Indy tokens, have been allocated for the liquidity bootstrapping event, with 5% of the created ADA/Indy liquidity token pairs going directly back over into the MinSwap DAO treasury as a fee for actually hosting the LBE. So that does seem to be pretty fair, and I'm glad to see that both projects are able to use this as a win-win situation, in which we see the Indigo protocol give the community an opportunity to participate in the launch of their token, while the MinSwap team also gets to benefit from building out this LBE platform. Now, if you're not familiar with how the LBEs themselves work, I do want to quickly highlight the timeline here, and then there's some key steps down below. So starting on November 14th, which was about 3 days ago, at 5 a.m. UTC, we saw the LBE discovery phase begin, in which we saw ADA deposits become enabled. So as a part of the LBE, members will be able to take their regular ADA and deposit that into a smart contract, which will be accepting ADA all the way until that particular part of the phase ends. Now, on November 19th, early withdrawals will be penalized by 25%. So between November 14th and the 19th, members can contribute their ADA into the LBE for the Indy token, and they can remove it also as they wish. Now, once the 19th comes around, if you remove any of the ADA that you'd previously given over into the LBE, there will be a 25% early withdrawal penalty. And so this is going to be to make sure that a lot of people do not pull out their liquidity right before the launch and the distribution of the token. Now, on November 20th at 11 p.m. UTC, the discovery phase will end. And so at that point, users will no longer be able to deposit ADA into the LBE or into the liquidity bootstrapping event. Starting on November 21st, we're going to have the encounter phase begin. Now, as a part of the encounter phase, users will have the ability to redeem their ADA Indy liquidity tokens, and the trading for the Indy token will officially begin on the MinSwap DEX. At this point, LBE participants can also stake their ADA Indy liquidity tokens in the boosted farm. And so again, at the very bottom of this article here, there's more information breaking down the discovery phase as well as the encounter phase. But to sum it up, between November 14th and the 19th, you can deposit and withdraw your ADA as you wish to the Indy or the Indigo LBE. And then after November 19th, the 25% early withdrawal penalty will begin. And then on the 20th at 11 p.m. UTC, the actual discovery phase will end. And then on the 21st at 3 p.m. UTC, we'll have the encounter phase begin, where you can begin redeeming your Indy tokens. So now I'm going to jump over into the actual website here, which is going to be app.minswap.org. And I'm currently viewing their launch bowl. Now within the launch bowl, I can see the Indigo LBE. And here you can see that right now, the potential price for this token, given the amount of liquidity that's been given into the LBE so far, will give us a price of 3.87 ADA per Indy token. Again, keep in mind that the total supply is going to be 350,000 Indy tokens, which is listed here. And there's currently been a total of 1.35 million ADA raised. Now let's say that we double the total number of ADA raised. That would actually then double the potential price of the Indy token. And so again, keep in mind that between now and the 19th, which is actually going to be tomorrow, we could see the price of this fluctuate heavily because there's not going to be any penalty for withdrawing your ADA. After the 19th is when we'll see the 25% fee begin to occur. And then the discovery phase is actually going to be wrapping up on November 20th at about 5 p.m. UTC. All right, you guys, if you guys want to participate, it's pretty simple. All you need to do is come over to the MinSwap DEX, connect your wallet, and then you can supply however much liquidity you want to go towards the LBE. So hopefully you guys found this to be helpful. Again, just trying to raise awareness around the Indigo token, which is going to be launching very shortly. Next, I want to kind of pivot gears and I want to talk about their testnet, which recently launched on November 14th. Now, I do have a fully dedicated video which highlights the entire testnet and the Dapp in much more detail. And so if you're interested in finding that, I'm going to leave the link to that down in the description below. Now, as you guys can see here, not only is Indigo getting ready for their LBE, but we now have access to their testnet on the preview network for Cardano. So what we're looking at right now is the main dashboard of the Dapp. And on top of that, what you can do here is you can not only borrow your IBTC, but you can also borrow IUSD, which I mentioned earlier is going to be the first stablecoin coming to Cardano. In addition to that, there are liquidations that can occur on the platform here. And if you want to, you can actually donate your ADA, or you can delegate your ADA, I should say, to stability pools, which will make sure that the protocol can actually run smoothly, but then in return, you can actually earn rewards. And so again, this is all covered in my specific video, so I'm not gonna harp on this too much here. And then there's also actually a governance section in which you can stake your Indy token, which will be available after the LBE. And then you can also create proposals and you can also vote on them using the governance tab here within their Dapp. So again, a lot of progress coming from the Indigo protocol, and it's actually all coming at once with their LBE and their launch on the testnet. So if you're going to be participating in the Indigo LBE, or if you've already participated in their testnet, let me know how that experience was and what you plan to do with your Indigo tokens after the LBE completes. Now, if you guys are enjoying this video so far, I would really appreciate it if you guys could tap that like button. It's gonna help to get this content out to other members within the Cardano community. All right, that's gonna wrap it up for the Indigo protocol and updates on them. Next, what I wanna highlight is going to be the Genius X team and their ever-growing list of updates. And so let me jump back in over here again. And what I'm gonna be talking about are going to be the onboarded projects that are just coming on to the Genius X platform, their recently released NFTs, and their Launchpad testnet. So first things first, Genius X onboards Curio DAO and Dracel to the accelerator program. If you're not familiar with Genius X, they're going to be an accelerator program helping brand new startups on Cardano achieve speed, scale, and an edge. Now, Genius X recently onboarded 2 brand new startups. The first is going to be Curio DAO, and Curio DAO is going to be a multi-chain protocol bringing innovative digital assets backed by real-world assets to the market, unlocking liquidity more efficiently, equitably, and transparently. Now, with that, the Curio DAO platform will also be providing services such as stable protocol modules for lending NFTs for CSC Curio stablecoin secured by the Swiss franc. So it looks like they're going to have a lending and borrowing side to their platform. They're also going to have access to an AMM module, which is going to be called Capital Dex, which is an autonomous algorithmic market maker for trading real assets. They're also going to have a wrapped token module, as well as a governance module, which I assume will allow for voting on proposals and things of that nature as well. Now, the second project that was onboarded by the Genius X platform is called Dracel. They're going to be a blockchain application framework for developers to launch and manage a wide range of dApps very quickly. And this project actually reminds me of another one that's been onboarded by Genius X already, called Martify. And Martify is simplifying the development process of dApps on Cardano by providing a framework that's easy to use and easy to interact with on the blockchain. Now, with both of these projects coming on, I believe there's now going to be over 12 different startups collaborating with Genius X. And again, it does look like that list is going to continue to grow. Next, I want to highlight the recent release of the Genius X ISPO NFTs. Now, if you guys missed out on the Genius X ISPO, this took place on May 15th all the way through September 12th of 2022, in which it lasted about 25 epochs. And during this time, the Genius X team raised over 155 million ADA, which was staked through 12,000 total delegators. So this was a pretty popular ISPO within the community. And since then, we have seen the launch of their NFT rewards for participants. So what I want to do here is just quickly highlight their rewards, and then we're going to move along. Now, the actual NFTs themselves, I will say, do look pretty impressive. The art on them is high quality, and they partnered up with a pretty cool NFT artist whose name is Herka. And so if you want to find out more about Herka, there is a link to their personal profile there for digital art. Now, in regards to the actual NFTs themselves, these ISPO NFTs will be used in the future Genius X Staking Center, and they're going to grant Gens X token stakers a booster in the accelerator rewards pool. So it's going to help you to basically boost your earnings if you're staking on the Genius X platform. Now, if you did miss the opportunity to participate in this particular ISPO, do not worry. There are other ways that you can actually earn this ISPO NFT, or these NFTs, I should say, and that's going to be through having staked once the actual platform launches. So the first way to earn these NFTs was to have delegated during the ISPO. If you missed out on that opportunity, I believe you can actually stake once the platform launches, and depending on the total amount that you stake and the time that you stake, you can earn these 3 different NFTs. Now, in terms of the actual boost themselves, I believe the Vesta will give you a 3% boost, the Comet will give you a 6% boost, and then the Titan will give you a 10% boost on the total amount that you're staking on the Genius X platform. All right, moving along. Next, I want to talk about the Genius X Launchpad testnet. And so this was announced earlier in October, and this is actually on October 24th. Now, the Launchpad is going to be a non-custodial way to participate in the sale and distribution of new tokens for up-and-coming projects on Cardano. And this particular testnet actually simulated the sale of the Genius Yield token. And so if you're not familiar, Genius Yield is going to be the parent company, basically managing a DEX, and Genius X is going to be the sister project, which is the Launchpad. And so as a part of the Launchpad testnet for Genius X, we saw a test run in which they basically allocated and sold the test gens token. Now this happened across 3 different rounds. The first round was the whitelisted round, and so you actually had to undergo KYC to participate in this event. But if you did and you were whitelisted, you could have bought some of the tokens as a part of the first round. Now, if you participated in the first round, you did get a discount on the price of the gens tokens, and so those were worth 2.3 ADA each in the first round. In the second round, which was the public round, the cost of the gens tokens was actually slightly higher, and those cost 3.4 ADA per gens. And then we actually had about the same amount of gens being allocated during both rounds, which was 1 million of the gens tokens. And so yes, I participated in this. I will say that the entire process was extremely smooth, from the KYC and the registration, managing everything within Discord, reporting bugs and issues. All of it went pretty well. The Genius X team, I will say, has gotten my respect with the amount of work that they're continuing to do and the amount of developments that they're continuing to show during this time. Again, with the launch of their NFTs, their Launchpad, and them onboarding projects, they just continue to deliver. And so if you guys have not gotten a chance to follow Genius X, I highly recommend that you do so. But one last thing that I want to highlight here is going to be that they just recently announced that there's going to be a third round for their Launchpad. And so this third round is going to be taking place, I believe, towards the end of this coming month. And it's only going to be available for members who actually participated in the first 2 rounds. So they're not going to be accepting any new testers, but if you participated in either of the first 2 rounds, you should be able to participate in this third round. And if you're not already aware, there's going to be a reward system in which they're going to be rewarding a total of 130,000 of the Gens X tokens for testers who participate in the testnet. The very last thing I want to mention here about Genius X is going to be that their testnet was recently audited and confirmed as well by Certic and Twig. And so the Genius team recently tweeted that they are proud to announce that the Genius X Launchpad has successfully been audited by Certic and Twig.io. The reported issues that were found as a part of this process have all been addressed, and the Launchpad should be coming on the mainnet within the coming weeks. So again, I'm super excited for this particular project to be launching, especially with everything that they're onboarding and all of their latest developments. Okay, that's going to wrap it up for updates on Genius X. As a part of today's video, we're going to close out with reviewing monthly updates from the WingRiders DEX. Now, WingRiders was one of the first DEXs that launched on Cardano, and what we're going to be reviewing are some of their recent updates. And so if you guys are not already following WingRiders on Medium, I'm going to leave the link to that down in the description below. And as always, I highly recommend that you follow them to stay updated. Now, the first thing I want to mention here is going to be that they had their first DAO vote, which concluded and is currently undergoing implementation. So as the article reads here, the WingRiders team kicked off this period with the first DAO vote on governance in their own specific portal. Becoming a fully fledged DAO has always been their goal from the start, and at the heart of their DAO is the governance mechanism, which allows for proposals for changes to be submitted and approved through member voting. Now, the first vote on the platform was on which feature to implement next, and the winning option was announced and implemented later in that month. Scrolling down, we can see that the WingRiders team also held a DAO governance Twitter space. And so following the launch of the first governance vote, the WingRiders team hosted a Twitter space on the topic of DAO governance. This event was co-hosted by Cardano with Paul, who's a top Cardano influencer, and they also collaborated with SundaySwap, Indigo, Drip Drops, and Aneta BTC. So it does look like they are doing their best to not only raise awareness, but implement changes surrounding DAOs and on-chain governance. Moving along, it looks like the WingRiders team has also recently updated their roadmap, and so I want to highlight some of these upcoming changes. Now, these include the launch of their DEX SDK, or their software development kit, software libraries to enable third parties to integrate their DEX, open source tooling for the Cardano community, and the unveiling of the First Rider fungible token, boosting utility. And so if you're not familiar with the First Rider fungible token, this was a fungible token that was given out to participants of the DEX early on when they were trying to accumulate liquidity. And so they're finally going to be bringing that particular fungible token some utility, which I believe will be announced over Twitter over the next coming days. Now, the last update to their roadmap is also to include version updates to their smart contracts, resulting in faster and cheaper transactions and bringing users more control during the swapping process. If you guys want access to their full roadmap, I will leave the link to that down in the description below, but it is also left as a link here directly in their article. The last thing I want to highlight here is going to be the recent release of open source repositories for the WingRiders platform. So following the successful launch of their DAO governance platform and their dashboard and the completion of the first DAO vote, we announced the release of the new open source repositories, helping to increase our DEX transparency by providing easier access to data. And so if you're not technically savvy, or if you're not familiar with what a repository is, every project has a code base which they have to update and basically keep updated in regards to Cardano coding standards and the Plutus smart contracts. And so whenever they make changes to their app, that's all managed using source control and a code repository. What this is basically saying is that end users will not have the ability to take a look at what the WingRiders DEX team is building without any additional access. And so again, in terms of transparency, I do think this is a huge update, and I would love to see more projects within Cardano adopt the same mindset when it comes to transparency in their code bases. And so let me scroll down here. It does look like there's additional announcements around their stake pool featured voting, their lending platform spaces, their ongoing and educational initiatives, and their continuous platform developments. So that is going to bring us to a close for today's Cardano Scoop. We covered updates to the Cardano blockchain and Catalyst. We also talked about a brand new exchange listing in the upcoming Cardano Summit. We touched on Indigo Protocol and their liquidity bootstrapping event and their launch on the Cardano Testnet, as well as the Genius X NFTs, their Launchpad, and the 2 new projects that they will be onboarding. And we just actually wrapped up by talking about WingRiders and their monthly updates, so that will do it for today's video. Again, if you guys found any of the information covered as a part of today's Cardano Scoop to be helpful, please make sure to tap that like button. If it's your first time visiting the channel, consider subscribing. And if you have any questions or comments about any of the content covered as a part of today's video, then make sure to leave those down below. With that said, I will see you guys in the next video. Peace.